Hi, I'm Francois from adventurebiketroop.com. Now, if your chain looks like this, you can be sure it's plotting your murder. So please don't let it go that far. With proper chain maintenance, you can avoid situations like this, and you can make your chain last so much longer and be much more reliable on a long adventure bike trip. Now, during a 3-month trip through Africa, we left from Cape Town in South Africa and rode to Cairo in Egypt on 2 Chinese delivery bikes, me and my wife. It took us 3 months to cover the 9,600 miles. During this trip, halfway through at Nairobi, I did a proper service of the bikes, and I had the opportunity to change the chain, to swap out the chain for a new one. And for some stupid reason, I decided I'm going to try to make it on one chain and set of sprockets. Now, this nearly caught me out on the very last day. Incidentally, our longest day in the saddle, day 90, as we left the Western Desert to enter Cairo. My chain started snagging on the sprockets. The sprockets' teeth looked like shark teeth, and I nearly didn't make it. I had to slowly pull away with a go, and we limped into Cairo that evening. Now, the reason I made it was due to proper chain maintenance. Now, I should have replaced it, but at least because I checked it every single day, I checked the tension, adjusted it if necessary, and I lubed it up every afternoon after a day's ride, and that made the chain last the full nearly 10,000 miles. And remember, this is a cheap little Chinese delivery bike. Now, I wrote a post on chain maintenance in general. You can check it out at adventurebiketroop.com/chains. The link is also in the description below. Now, this video, we're just quickly going to chat about the steps to adjust the tension on your chain. Step 1. Check the tension. So the bike needs to be on the side stand with the weight of the bike on the wheels, and then you check the tension midway between the front and the rear sprocket. So with your finger or with the screwdriver, lift up the chain, and there should be a fair amount of slack. Now, it's best to know the specs for your specific bike, but another thing you can check is put the bike straight up with your full weight with you and the gear on it. Roll the bike until you find the tightest spot in the chain, and then you must still at least see half an inch of lift midway between the two sprockets. You want to check with the weight on the bike, because as you ride, you'll go through bumps and the chain will straighten out and tighten, and you want at least some slack on its tightest spot with the suspension compressed. Step 2. Put the bike on the center stand. Now, if you don't have a center stand, you can put it on the side stand, lift up the right hand side and jam something underneath, or in worst case scenario, you can just leave the bike on the ground. Step 3. Loosen the axle nut. Step 4. Loosen the lock nuts on the chain adjusters, and this is where your bike might be different. So it's best to practice this at home before you leave on your long adventure bike trip, because you're going to do this often. And I suggest you check the chain daily, and you might have to make adjustments. So step 5, start adjusting the chain tension. So if it was too tight, you need to loosen it, but it's more likely that it's going to be too loose because chain stretches as it wears. So you're going to have to turn in the adjusting nuts to move the wheel back. Step 5, make sure the chain is in alignment. So you want the front and rear wheels to be in alignment. You want the front and rear sprockets to be aligned, and the chain must be straight. If this chain is not straight and the sprockets are not aligned, it might come off the sprockets, which is not a fun prospect, because that could lock up your rear wheel and send you into a dangerous skid and possibly a crash. Step 7, fasten the lock nuts on the adjusters. Step 8, fasten the wheel nuts. Now, it's best to know the torque specs, but you're probably not going to have a torque wrench on a long trip. It's quite a big tool. So just properly tight, not over tight. You don't have to jump on it, just properly tight. And usually there's a castle nut, so you can put in a split pin, and that prevents it from backing out. And then step 9, check the tension again. So again, on the side stand, weight on the wheels, the normal bike weight, check the tension again, should be within spec. If it's not, do the process again, and then just double check with your full weight and the luggage on the bike upright at the tightest spot to see whether there's some movement there. So that's it for adjusting your chain. I suggest you check the chain every single day after a ride. And the reason why we do it at the end of the day is it's easier to lube up a hot chain to soak up the wax. So do this at the end of each ride, and then you know the next morning you're ready to go. And that's it for this video on how to adjust the tension of your chain. If you want to read up more on general chain maintenance on a long adventure bike trip, check out my post at adventurebiketroop.com/chains. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.